Hey guys, this is Lair, and today we're going to talk about why you might want to consider a Tesla next time you're in the market to buy a vehicle. We're going to run through three of the things that I wish I'd known about EV ownership and about Tesla specifically prior to jumping in, because before 2024, I was not really interested in EVs at all. I was not interested in Teslas at all. But it wasn't really until I learned about them a little bit that I started getting really interested. So here we go. Okay, of course, the big question, number one, am I going to hate having to charge this car all the time? And that's totally a fair question. Like, that was the biggest thing that I was curious about prior to getting a Tesla. Was I was so worried that I was going to have to charge that thing all the time and it was going to drive me insane. I was so used to just being able to stop and get some gas, right? But what I've learned is basically what every EV driver learns, and that is that you don't really think about it at all. You don't think about charging. You don't, at least in my circumstance, I don't think about what my charge level is or anything like that throughout the day. I know that I have enough charge to get everything done that I need to get done, unless there's extenuating circumstances, like I'm going on a road trip, or I'm traveling somewhere really far away, or I'm driving hundreds of miles more in a day than I normally would. So I have what's called a level 2 charger at my house. And a level 2 charger is a faster charger that basically will let you charge to a full tank every single night. A level 1 charger is also an option. A level 1 charger is like plugging into a standard wall outlet. And if you don't drive a lot, or all of your driving is in like a closed loop around town, and you do like 10 miles a day or something, then a level 1 charging solution is probably perfect for you. A level 2 charger, on the other hand, is like a custom enclosure. Maybe you've seen them before, but it's mounted to the house or on the inside of a garage. In my case, it's under a carport, and it's installed by a licensed electrician. And it cost me, I think, about $750 to have my level 2 charger installed. And then it cost me another $300 to $350, something like that, to actually buy the charging station. Highly recommend this. If you're looking at an EV, it is very important to be able to charge it at home. I see posts sometimes, like people on Reddit or Twitter or wherever, will ask questions like, hey, should I still get a Tesla if I can't charge at home? That's tough. I don't think I would, personally. I think it would drive me insane if I had to go sit at superchargers all the time. And to be honest with you, that's what I thought owning a Tesla was prior to studying up on it and learning a little bit more about it. I knew you could get a charger at home, but I thought I was going to have to stop and fill up at charging stations around town all the time, and that just doesn't happen. I was thinking of it like stopping to get gas, and stopping to get gas, I'd have to stop once a week or however often, fill up my gas tank. Charging doesn't really work that way. You don't fill up when you're charging, especially when you're out and about and you're going somewhere. Like, say I was in town and I was driving around. If I somehow needed a charge, my only thought is I just need enough charge to get home. So for me, it takes about 7% of my battery to make my commute, to go from middle of town back to my house. So charging 7% of my battery takes no time at all. That is, no time at all. Several minutes. That is running in to go to the bathroom somewhere, running to grab a drink, come back, and the car's basically ready to go. That's all I'm really thinking about, is I need to charge enough to get to the next place I'm going. To get to the next charger, or to get home where I can just plug it in and charge overnight or whatever. So that was one misconception I had. I don't think I understood, and I don't think any EV or non-EV owner, rather, can understand what the charging loop looks like until you have one or lease one or you see it firsthand. Tesla does this really, really well, by the way. I was always worried that when I was traveling somewhere, I wasn't going to be able to find a charger and it was going to be really inconvenient. But the Tesla software, which is great, and spoilers, we're going to talk about that in a minute, it just masterfully nails this. So in the Tesla software, when you're navigating somewhere, even if it's states away, days of driving away, you put in your destination, you tell the car where you want to go, and it will plot out all of your supercharger stops and your route, and it plans everything, and it just nails it. So it'll give you a route, and it'll say, okay, you have 8 charging stops that you have to make on this route, or whatever, how many ever it is. Well, those charging stops are not charging from 0% battery to 100% battery, because that's not the efficient way to plan out these charging stops. Instead, what ends up being the case for me is I'll be like, okay, I've got a charging stop coming up in 20 minutes. I'm going to stop and I'm going to use the bathroom. So I'll stop, I'll plug it in to charge, and I'll go use the bathroom. And while I'm using the bathroom, maybe I'll grab a snack or whatever. By the time I get back to the car, it's probably time to go. But say that while I'm there, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and eat lunch. So I sit down, I eat lunch, and my car charges up more than is needed to continue the trip. Like maybe I only needed 50% battery to continue the trip, and because I stopped to eat lunch, my car is now at 80% battery or something like that. Well, the Tesla navigation system in the software will automatically update to remove charging stops that are no longer necessary. So I might sit and eat lunch, and that shaves a whole charging stop off of my trip, and now it's just a straight shot to the next one. And there's things like that the software really handles well. The whole charging thing is so much simpler than I ever could have imagined when I drove a gas vehicle. And I always imagined like, oh, charging is going to be horrible. Electric cars are horrible. You're going to have to stop and charge, and it's going to take forever. It's just what everybody thinks. And I get it, because that's just what you think. But it turns out it's all streamlined so much, and Tesla really has done a great job of this themselves. Like in the software on the screen in the car, when you plug in a supercharger, you stop at a rest stop or whatever, plug in a supercharger to charge, and you go inside. When you come back, you don't have to scan your card or like tap to pay or initialize. You don't have to hit a button that says sign up for our loyalty program and you'll save 3 cents a gallon on your electricity that you're putting in your car. You don't have to do any of that because it all just runs through the Tesla software. So if you're using a first-party supercharger, and they're everywhere, the network is really extensive, your billing method that's on file in your Tesla account just gets billed automatically. And when you get back into the car, it'll tell you how much your charging stop costs, and how many kilowatt hours you charged, and like stats about your charging. Really impressive. You don't get that in a gas vehicle, and it's honestly a perk. I think it's so much easier and so much simpler that I prefer the charging experience over the fueling up experience in that one way. It takes longer than fueling your car. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. But for some other reasons we're going to talk about a little bit later, I really don't mind at all. It's kind of okay with me. Now, to get into the specifics of cost on charging. Before I bought my Model Y, I've had 2 Model Ys. Right now I have a 26 Model Y Juniper. It's like the refresh, the newer version of the Model Y. It's the one that you can buy right now if you go on the Tesla website. Before I had my Model Ys, I had a 2022 Ram 1500. This was a big truck, half-ton pickup. I loved it. I've been a truck guy for most of my life. I work in the oil field. I've driven trucks. It's just what we do. I was spending about $500 a month in fuel for my truck, which was good. I mean, it had utility. It was a truck. I mean, I could use it for towing and all that stuff. But I was spending a lot because I drive on average 100 miles or more every single day. So the gas costs a lot. And at the time, fuel was, I'm going to say $3 a gallon, somewhere in there, a little over $3.20 a gallon, something in that range. Since I got my Teslas, my charging costs, like there's a 81 kilowatt hour battery on the 26 Model Y, the one that I have right now. Charging that every month on average costs me $86. So that's the same amount of driving that I was doing in my Ram 1500 that was costing me $500 a month to fuel. The same amount of driving, maybe a little more, honestly, because I think I drive more often now, to be fair. And it cost me only $86. So I've saved, on average, $414 a month. And that's not counting road trips and other stuff. I think with my truck, there was 1 year where I put close to 50,000 miles on it. So just saying, all around, it's much, much, much cheaper for me to drive my Tesla. So economically, it makes a lot of sense. Now, how does the math shake out on that? It's easy for people to calculate gas. You know, you can just go look at the sign at the gas station and be like, oh, gas is $2.20 a gallon or whatever it is right now. For electricity, you have to go to your electric bill and you have to see what you're charged per kilowatt hour. For me, I'm fortunate and our electricity is pretty cheap. I have it written down somewhere here. Let me see. So ours is 12 cents per kilowatt hour, which is great. That's a great price. So at 12 cents per kilowatt hour, $86 a month to drive, you know, the same 100 miles a day on average that I was driving before. When I'm traveling, in Texas at least, the superchargers all run about 30 to 35 cents per kilowatt hour. And I know you don't have any frame of reference for like, well, how much does it cost to charge your EV? For me, my average charging stop in my Tesla is about $12. It ends up being significantly cheaper for me to travel in this car versus the truck I had before. Now, you could argue like, yeah, it's a car versus a truck. Like there's no comparison there. I get it. Fair point. But I'm just telling you, that was my experience. Talked about how the software has all your payment method and everything built in, and it just really seamlessly communicates with the superchargers and all that. And that leads right into point number 2. And that is, I had a misconception about cars in general, and that was that the software side of owning a car basically just sucked and there was nothing you could do about it. I guess the only exception to that rule was like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto had kind of made navigation and media consumption in cars a little bit better than it was before, but it was still the same, you know, bogged down user interface where you tap a button on the screen and there was like a delay for a couple of seconds while the car was catching up to what you wanted it to do. You know, it was just always sluggish and I didn't like it. In the Ram, the truck that I was talking about having before, one of the things that was really attractive about that truck to me when I bought it was that it had this giant like vertical infotainment screen. Is that what they call those? And it was huge. I can't remember how big it was. It was like 14 inches or something like that. Just giant screen. And when you plugged into Apple CarPlay, CarPlay took over the whole screen. It was really cool, I thought. The problem was it was just like every other car's infotainment center or whatever. And it was so sluggish. It was so slow. It wasn't what I wanted. What I wanted, I think, was just a big iPad in the center of the car. You know, for anybody that's ever used an iPad, it's like the comparison between a high dollar, not even high dollar, just an iPad, or like the cheapest, flimsiest tablet that you can buy, like that $30 tablet that you can buy on Amazon at Christmas time. It's like the comparison between those. It's like the iPad is so sharp and you just tap something and it immediately happens and apps just open and they just work. You know, there's no like having to mess with it. And I'm not like a Apple shill or anything. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm just saying it works and it's really impressive when it works that well. Well, cars don't really have that usually. You know, most car interfaces in the center of the dash just suck. And I don't get it. I think the explanation I've heard is that they've piecemealed so many things together that they can't really get the kind of seamless functionality that I want, where you can control everything from that center console. But that's where Tesla comes in. The center screen in every Tesla is so cool because it is totally connected to the car. Like, it knows all of the ins and outs and the controls. Like in mine, I can even control like the passenger and the rear seats. I can control where those seats are from the screen in the center console. I can control the climate, and I can turn on the heat and ventilated seats all from that screen. And I can I mean, this is totally off topic, but there's a theater mode on this screen where you can watch Netflix or YouTube or Twitch or TikTok if you're so inclined. You can just sit there and scroll on this theater screen, or use the browser that's built in to Google things or look up whatever you want. It's seriously impressive. It's really, really cool. Not to mention there's AI built into the car. So you just hold down a button on the steering wheel and AI will talk to you and answer any questions that you have. And it's awesome. It's just cool. Something that my wife and I do with that all the time is I'll say, okay, I'm here. My name is Hunter. My wife's name is Sydney. And you're going to be a trivia master, and the topic is the animals or whatever. And I'll say, we're competing to see who can get 20 points first, and I want you to alternate and ask us questions one at a time. And it'll say like, okay, Hunter, here's your first question. It'll ask us a question, and when I answer it, it'll either award me a point or not award me a point. It's incredible. It's just entertainment. It's something I can do while my car is driving me around, which we'll talk about in a minute. Because all of these things are so seamless, though, I really wanted to talk about software, because I don't think we often think about software when we're buying our car. It's all about the driving experience and all that. And spoilers, I don't plan to really talk about the driving experience that much in this vehicle, like the feel of the suspension or any of that. Just go test drive one and you'll get to experience all of that. It's good. I mean, I think that's enough to say about that. But the software stuff is such a root of frustration for me in vehicles. In my Ram that I was talking about, one example of that is I had an app on my phone that was connected to my Ram. It was called like Ram Connect or something like that. And for the first 6 months of owning that truck, it was great. It worked. I was able to remote start and unlock and lock my doors and, control the climate, stuff like that. Very bare bones, but it worked. Well, then apparently that was a trial. And after 6 months of ownership, they said, okay, well, now you have to pay $20 a month to continue having that functionality. I can't tell you how frustrated I was getting this pop-up that suddenly my features were gone. I cannot tell you how annoyed I was when that happened. By comparison, my Tesla, the app will do so much more than any other car app that I've ever seen, including things like letting you access all the onboard cameras on the car to view what's going on around you. Here's a real world application for that. Actually, recently, my wife and I were out with some friends and one of our friends said, oh, I don't have my phone with me. I wonder if I left it in the car. And I said, let me check. And I was able to just get on my phone and pull up the live camera feed of the interior cabin of the car and see my friend's phone sitting on the seat. So I was like, yep, there's your phone right there. Awesome. Hold on. I'm going to show you right now. I have to, because this is so cool. I just want you to see how easy it is. So I just hit the live camera button in my app. It's loading. There it is. Look at that. Can you see it? Hold on. You can kind of see it. So there's 4 cameras being shown on there. Forward, rear, left, and right. And I was able to just get to that in an instant. If I want to see the interior of the car, I can click on the interior and there it is. Isn't that cool? and it just works. There's no like fuss about it, you know? With my Ram, none of the software stuff worked. And the same goes for pretty much every manufacturer. I mean, I've ridden in my friends' Ford Raptors and like high-end trucks and stuff. They're all the same. The software is a weak point for traditional auto manufacturers. I don't know what it is, but they really, really, really struggle, and Tesla doesn't. Something else that I want to highlight is with my Ram, things would happen that would make the experience worse, like being 6 months in and getting that pop-up that says, if you want to continue having the tools that you've had for the last 6 months, then you have to pay us $20 a month. Or more recently, I've heard that the same truck that I had now is getting a pop-up that says, hey, you're eligible for a loyalty bonus for $1,500 off a brand new truck. That would drive me insane too. But my Tesla, on the other hand, has gotten so much better since I got it. It's gotten these software updates that completely change how I use the car. One of those is something called Actually Smart Summon, which blows my mind that this is a feature, that this is something that you can just have in your car. So say you go into the grocery store, you get your groceries, you got 2 bags in your hand, you're walking out, you can get your phone out and you can hit the summon button and the car will come up and pick you up at the front door of the grocery store. It'll navigate traffic without you in there autonomously, and it'll drive up to the front door and park and wait for you, and you just go out, climb in, take off. Insane. Would I trust it all the time? It's iffy. There are some parking lots, like I'm not going to Costco and using this, to be honest. I'm not, because it's more stressful to me to call the car up in the Costco parking lot than to just walk to the car and climb in. But there are a lot of times when I do use it. I use it at church almost every week. I use it pretty much every day. I mean, if I go to grocery stores, I'll use it. Sometimes at the office, I'll use it if my car is kind of parked far away from the door. I use it anytime I can. It's very convenient. I love it. And it wasn't there when I bought my car. I literally just went to sleep one night and then I woke up the next day and got a notification on my phone that said, your car can do this now. Blew my mind. Can't believe that. All right. Point number 3, and I'm going to be honest, this is the big one for me. This is why I ended up buying a Tesla in the first place. Maybe to you, you don't care about it at all, but I'm just telling you, give it a chance. Go and test drive one and try this feature out. And that feature is full self-driving. So if somehow you know nothing about this, and I'll be honest, I'm reasonably tech savvy, and when I test drove my first Tesla, I didn't really know anything about Tesla full self-driving. I was just in a bubble, had not heard anything about it, didn't know where the technology was or anything like that. Full self-driving, I'm going to distill it down to this. My car that I bought, my consumer car that costs about as much as a high-end Toyota Camry, could drive from my house to my office 40 minutes away without me in it. I am completely confident that my car could navigate from my house to my office without me there. Fortunately, that's not allowed, or unfortunately, that's not allowed. If it were allowed, I think I would probably do it, honestly, because I drive this route every single day in my car, and it handles everything. And what I'm talking about everything, like a lot of people have this tendency to hear about self-driving and go, oh yeah, I had a Toyota RAV4 some time ago, and that RAV4 had adaptive cruise control, and it had the lane assist thing where it would kind of stay in the lanes, and those two things tied together meant that the car would handle traffic, like bumper to bumper traffic. It would match the flow of traffic, and it would go as fast as the people in front of me, or it would, hit the brakes and stop if it got close to anybody. And the lane assist thing meant that it would kind of follow the curvature of the road, and it would make simple turns for me and stuff. Not comparable in any way to what we're talking about with Tesla's full self-driving thing, hard to explain. You have to just see it in action, and you really have to sit in the driver's seat and experience it in person, because when you're in the driver's seat, you're like anticipating what you want the car to do, and after a while you see like, oh, this car is basically reading my mind, because every time I want it to do something or I anticipate it having a certain reaction, that's what it does. And then in some cases it even does that before you anticipate it, and you go like, whoa, that was great, that was awesome that the car did that. So full self-driving, here's how it works. You sit down in the car, you buckle up, you take the role of a supervisor. And what that means is that you're just kind of checking in on the car to make sure that it's not doing anything illegal or anything dangerous. Now you hear that, and like me, when I first heard that, I thought, okay, well, what's the purpose of it if I have to watch it and make sure it's not going to kill me? I'm telling you, that is not the experience that I've had. I have driven over 50,000 miles on full self-driving since I first got into Teslas, and it is such a smooth experience, and it's only gotten smoother. And the things that it does incorrectly are not what they call safety critical. It's not like, oh, I'm fixing to die. It's like, that was less comfortable on that turn than it could have been. Like, it's almost like occasionally I'll feel like the Uber driver took a turn differently than I would have. It's like that kind of thing. But it doesn't feel unsafe. It doesn't feel scary. It feels just different. It's like, oh, I didn't anticipate that, so it didn't feel quite right, but it's fine. Like, I'm gonna get where I'm going. So, like I said earlier, my car could go from my house to my office without me even in it. And that's not like an outlier experience. That's become the norm. It's become the norm to be able to sit in my car, put in my destination, tap a button on the screen, and then the car just takes me wherever I want to go, and I do nothing. And I'm talking like, I can go from my bed at my house to my desk at my office, 30 to 40 minute drive, and never once touch the steering wheel or the pedals. Isn't that crazy? Like, I feel like I'm living on a different planet, or I'm going insane or something, because everyone is not seeing how crazy that is or something, or like unbelievable it is. I'm just telling you, you got to try it to appreciate it. I think you have to actually sit in the driver's seat and watch the car do this for you. I think it's even different sitting in the passenger seat, or like watching my video that's running here in the background of this. I think you really have to go test drive one and experience it for yourself. But if you're driving around town and the car's driving for you, it's incredible. If you're on a road trip and you're driving hundreds of miles or thousands of miles, I cannot emphasize enough how much this changes road trips. Here's an anecdote for you. My wife and I were on a long road trip. We had about a 4-hour drive to come back home on our way back from where we were road tripping. And for the first time that I can ever remember in my life, I turned to my wife and I said, "Do you want to take the long way home?" What? Do you want to take the long way home? I thought, like, who is this idiot who is saying these words? They felt so unnatural coming out of my mouth. But the reason for that was FSD. I knew FSD was going to handle everything, and I knew my car was going to drive for me, and I knew from having driven thousands of miles prior to that, hey, I'm not going to be as tired when I get home. I'm not going to be as fatigued. So I was telling her, like, hey, let's go get some tacos in this town way over here that's an hour out of our way, and let's just make a day out of it. Totally changed the road trip experience for me, to the point that later I would take a 9-hour one-way trip. My grandma and I went to a funeral that was in Oklahoma, and we drove 9 hours straight up there, and I could have done another 9 hours. I was not tired at all. I didn't feel like exhausted, like ready to pass out as soon as I got there. I was not running for a bed to just shut my brain down. I felt good. I could have kept going. total game changer. So if you haven't tried Tesla full self-driving, that is the killer feature that kind of brings the whole package together. All three of these things, the ease of charging, the software being as good as it is, and the full self-driving part of the deal, totally changed my opinion about Teslas specifically. On EVs, I don't know. You know, if I was looking at buying an EV and I didn't have access to the Tesla network of chargers, and a lot of EVs now do have access to the Tesla chargers, but if I didn't have access to them, I don't know if I would want to do it, to be honest. If I didn't have access to the navigation that the Tesla has that routes me to all those chargers, I don't know. It would just be a different discussion for me. But at the end of the day, full self-driving is what really makes the whole package work for me. Like, if I had the option between the car that I drive every single day that I really love and a supercar, like a $200,000 car or something, I would probably just choose my car if the other car couldn't drive itself. And hey, look, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe there's nobody else that thinks like me. But go and try full self-driving and see what you think, because it makes a total difference for me. And at this point, I'm blessed enough to have the privilege to say something like, I hope I never have to drive another car manually ever again. Right? So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you got something out of this. Let me know what other questions you have about Tesla ownership or EV ownership, and maybe I can follow this up with a part 2 video where we explore some of those. And in the meantime, just let me know down in the comments if you have any other questions, concerns, comments, or if you found this video helpful. That would be great. Share it with your friends, tell people about it, and let's see if we can get some more Tesla drivers out on the road. Take care, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good day.